Newfound fan base, delivering the most in anime and gaming entertainment.
Uh, First, this is John from NFFB,
Hey, I'm Reed.
and we also have Will, of course, Willie Fresco. If you want to do your shout outs. Um,
Joining us today.
yeah, and joining us is Philippe.
Yep.
Good. Why don't you introduce yourself real
Yeah,
quick?
you wanna?
Yeah, sure. I'm Phil from Sweet Bandit Studios. So we are a small indie studio that started last year, based in Quebec City. That's pretty much the basics of it.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your studio? Have you guys made any of the
Sure.
games?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the Coffense is our first game, but we are two guys. We worked at Activision for a bunch of years, actually. I'm the youngest of the three, so I worked there for 5 years, but we have one of the other guys worked there for 10 years. So yeah, we've made plenty of games before, but this is our first indie game. So we left to create Sweet Bandits in September of last year, so not 1 year yet, but pretty close. And yeah, we've been working on Coffense since October, actually. So that's pretty much our story now.
Where did the concept of Coffense come from? Like, what's its inspirations?
Yeah, well, that's pretty good one. Actually, it began with a bunch of jokes. So the basics of it was it started at the coffee machine, actually, back at the office, and it was an old idea, actually. When there was a lineup at the coffee machine, we were joking around that we should sell it with a duel, whoever gets to get the coffee first. So it evolved into that kind of idea where we should fight with coffee itself. And I found the idea pretty interesting for a fighting game because, well, you can trade health. I mean, if coffee is your health, it's always changing between the two players. So I thought that was an interesting concept, and I mean, it really changed from there. We started with something that was very close to fencing, and we went more with a arcade feel for a fighting game. So yeah, it changed a lot, but the basic concepts came from that kind of joke that we used at the office.
That's cool. So just watching some of the gameplay, definitely a lot of influences like Smash Brothers, maybe Nidhogg.
Yeah.
Did you have anything specific in mind when you started in terms of like what you wanted the combat to feel like?
Yeah, so the very first idea, it was kind of close to Nidhogg in a way, because we were inspired by fencing, because the idea was really to fight with cups just like swords. So it started with something that was kind of grounded, very close-quartered feeling, and actually the funny thing is, the ranged attack came in as a bug. So we had that bug where the cup would just fly around, and we found that hilarious, and it was really fun actually. So what we did is we transformed it into a ranged attack, and then the idea of having that kind of loop between ranged melee attack, the spin that breaks the block, it all evolved from there. So it became far more arcade, and I would say one of our big inspirations was also Lethal League, stuff like that. So yeah, so all those kinds of funky fighters, I would say, funky fighting games that are more accessible for a bunch of people.
That's awesome.
If you had to compare it yourself to like another fighter, what would you like? Where do you think you got like a lot of your inspirations? I mean, you said fencing, but there's not like fencing 2017's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of this, a bit of that. I would say, yeah, the initial feeling, we really went for something like Nidhogg, and the idea that Nidhogg, well, you hit that ball all around, the balls of coffee that you have to grab give that little, I would say, hectic quality to it, so you're trying to grab the ball of coffee before it falls to the ground. But yeah, we went, I mean, we're pretty close to a twin-stick shooter also, so there's also that in the DNA of the game, because you aim your strikes at different places, and aiming is a pretty big place in the gameplay. That's not something that you see a lot of in fighting games, but really we went into the twin-stick shooter side of thing for that idea. So yeah, I would say we have a bunch of inspiration on both sides, but we came up with it in the middle. It's a beast of its own, I would say now. It's getting pretty different.
Yeah, I definitely felt like, I mean, and obviously the fans don't know this, but we met at Evo, and that's when I got my hands on it, and I stopped because it really like drew me in because it looked different than most fighters. But my favorite aspect of the game was definitely when you hit the cup, your opponent's cup, and the coffee like splashed into the air. And you had that moment where both of you were panicking, trying to figure out like how you were gonna get it, whether you're gonna jump, whether you're gonna throw your cup up. And when you grabbed it, you either got a sense of relief or like accomplishment or achievement. So that was definitely my favorite. What aspect would you say is yours?
Yeah, I think, of course, the coffee flying is like the basic mechanic, but I think something we really pushed on and made more complete is really the aiming part, and I think it goes hand in hand with grabbing the coffee, because what makes it so satisfying is that you have to aim your shots and just throw your cup around. And I think, yeah, the best thing is with the flying coffee, there's kind of a strategic aspect to it that I really like. I mean, you could just completely ignore your own coffee drop to just deny one from someone. So you just go on the full offensive and let it hit the floor. So yeah, that's all possible. Sacrificing some sweet coffee like that, or sweet just to say it. But yeah, I really like. I think the aiming aspect is something that I really grew up to like. And the more we went into development, we steered away from a classic fighting game and went really into all out into kind of a twin stick shooter hybrid. So yeah, it's something that grew on me and that I really like about the game now.
So one of the recent updates you guys made was actually adding like the aiming reticle.
Yeah. Yes, that's kind of like what I was saying. The twin stick shooter side of things really grew as we developed. I mean, when it started, we only had the melee attack and blocks and that kind of thing. So it was aiming wasn't a very big part of it, but we still added to a lesser degree because you could still raise your arm in the air to grab a drop. So, but we went ahead and we had lots of fun just moving our arm around. So we're like, why not aim it? Why not throw something? Why not use that aiming to make something different? And it became very important because you're aiming for the cup, not the other character, and that's a very important part of the game too. If you hit the other character, it's going to be stunned for a few seconds, but what you really want is to hit that cup to release the cup. So yeah, I mean that's really something we're working on, and we're still trying to make it even more interesting. The twin stick aspect shooter of it. So yeah, we still have a bunch of ideas and abilities that feed into that would be pretty interesting, I think.
It reminded me of having a yo-yo almost. Like
absolutely.
Just throwing my cup at somebody and bringing it back to me. Or being in like a classroom, just hitting somebody like like the person sitting next to me with a yo-yo.
Definitely, and like I said at the start, it started as a bug, and that YOLO feeling was there at the start, but you really made it. We thought it was really fun that you could actually continue moving it after throwing it. It's more of a yo-yo than a projectile, so you have that little swing that you can give it, and I think it allows some pretty cool strategy. I've seen some people at Evo just throwing their cup up in the air to dodge an attack, and I think that's pretty clever. And I mean, we really like that part of the game, just letting it be kind of freeform, how you throw your cup, try some kinds of tactics with it.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I definitely felt that at first. My approach was very basic. Like I just shot my cup forward, and I was like, if I hit the cup, I'll just go up, and that's it. And then I remember playing against you, and you said like if you do like a scoop motion and you hit the cup, you immediately scoop the coffee right afterwards. So like there's a lot of depth behind the strategy as opposed to just like running up, hitting like a close melee and hoping you hit some coffee out.
Sure, and that's a big thing that we found out. And I mean, some people at Evo did things that we didn't imagine they would do with the range attack, stuff like that. But we think it's great. I mean, we allow lots of combinations, so you could slide around and throw your cup at the very same time. So if you get really good at aiming, you just slide underneath your enemy while hitting him with a ranged attack and just grab his coffee all in a fell swoop, and that's really cool. But you need to be very good at aiming. I mean, that's easy to pull up.
That's probably my favorite thing in a game is having a baseball slide. I don't know why. I mean, it's a silly ass reason, but it's you have a baseball slide. There's something about baseball slides that I just like.
I have a feeling.
I'm such a simple man.
This is gonna be one of those games where like people get too good at it. Where like you hop online, you're just like, why am I playing this? Like, how did you do that?
Sure, I think the skill ceiling I think is much higher than we expected when we started the project, and it's mostly because of aiming, really, because some people are just so good at it and have some great reflexes. And when you combine the two of those things together, you get something that you don't get in many fighting games. You don't really have to aim your strikes. I mean, there's execution for combos and stuff like that, but aiming your strike is something different. And having someone being able to move really fast across the screen while landing some incredibly accurate moves, it's another level of difficulty to beat those kind of people.
I feel like that's like something that like developers never really planned for, like when the game actually comes out. Like you always have, and that's with like any fighting game, like you always have like the developers that get people they want the characters to do like a specific thing, but then once the game comes out and like a week or two later, like there's already like broken stuff that like people are figuring out. And that's just with like any game, man. Like people people like figure things out at such a fast rate nowadays that it's kind of ridiculous, but it's also actually like like that's almost like my favorite part of, you know, like releasing a fighting game is that initial release when everybody is figuring out things that the devs will never even would probably even, you know, like think about. So it helps, like the community also helps grow a game like that as well too, you know?
Definitely, and Evo was our first convention, so it was really the first time we saw people playing our games that instead of us, and it was really interesting because, like you said, we found out some things. Actually, when you drink your coffee, it slows down time for your enemy, but you're actually locked during both of the players are locked during the drinking animation, but we noticed that the drops were not. So you could actually just hit your enemy's cup, see the drop flying up in the air, and take your own coffee, just to freeze the opponent while the drop was falling on the floor. And people at Evo found that out pretty soon, and were using that to just finish off their opponent in an absolutely brutal manner. They would just hit them and drink all the coffee while they're doing.
I didn't even think of that. That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna fix it. I mean, the drops are going to be the drops are going to be frozen in the air. All we're gonna get some time for you to interrupt the coffee break. That's something we decided while looking at people playing at Evo. I think drinking coffee right now is really overpowered. So that's something we're gonna change a little bit. But yeah, it was really interesting anyway to see that kind of strategy. And of course, we're gonna fix that one, and I'm pretty sure there'll still be a bunch of stuff that people will figure out and that we will introduce pretty soon that people will be able to break in some interesting ways.
You said that the characters, there was a bunch of different characters, and then they had different cups and all that stuff. We're gonna go into that a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know how many characters yet, but
yeah, right now we have 4 characters. We're gonna have more until we release. Right now their differences is mostly stat based. So they have different walk speed, jump heights, air control, that bunch of stuff. But we're working on right now. Our focus is getting them on. They will all have a unique maneuver. So the slide that you have right now, the baseball slide, will be unique to 2 characters, and other characters will have other types of maneuvers. So that's something we're working on. We'll also have some character-specific coffee breaks. So when you drink coffee and use that super move, there'll be something specific to every character. But right now the big difference is really in the cups. So we have 6 cup types, and they come in different weight classes. In the weight classes, basically the idea is the heavier the cup, the more coffee you have, so the more health you have, and the lighter the cup, the less you have, but the faster you are with the range attack. Yeah, they're really fast and they have more range on the range attack. So the smallest cup we have is the espresso cup. It's only 2 drops, so 2 hits and you're done. But it's incredibly fast, and actually it's almost instant for your aiming. So you can smite drops in the air if you have great aim.
That's really pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's really kind of a people at Evo. I want to try that one. I wouldn't recommend it for your first game, but it could be very interesting. I want to see. The feedback we had is that maybe it's underpowered, but I think once people get the hang of it, it might be really overpowered. So I'm interested in seeing what people will do with it. But yeah, and actually all the cups also have max capacity. So with your espresso cup, you have a max capacity of 4 drops. So even if you grab a 5th drop, it won't fit into your cup. So you better drinking that coffee as you go. So that's kind of another thing to take into account. And if you have the coffee pot, you have 6 drops to start with. You can go up to 12. So in a 4-player match, you can just steal the coffee from everyone and rack it up. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, there's also 4-player. That's
I completely forgot that that's a thing. That's gonna be cool.
Sure, yeah, we're working on it. We didn't show it up at Evo because we thought Duel was more of a controlled environment for the basics of the game. Brawl, which is our four-player mode, is really chaotic sometimes, in a good sense, I would say. But we had some, so it's a bit closer to Super Smash Bros. In the ways that we have platforms, elevation, so you can jump around, drop from platform. And there's all the idea of a kind of line of sight that blocks the cup from making it throw from one side of the map to the other. So it's a different feeling, I would say, in four players. So that's something we're going to showcase in the future. I mean, we are on Steam Early Access, so people can play four players right now, but we're still working on it. And it's going to change a little bit in the next few updates.
Cool. So you guys are on Steam Early Access right now, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Has that given you a chance to kind of rebalance things and see how the community reacts to it?
Definitely. I mean, we started having some more people recently, so the Steam Summer Sale helped us to get some new players, and we started to have some good feedbacks on some things. Sometimes simply bugs, but yeah, like I said, when we started, the Espresso Cup was walk drop, so it was really extreme, and the coffee cup was 8 drop, I think. So one of the things that people tested out is that we flattened the value of the difference of coffee between those cups because it was just ridiculous. Playing against a coffee pot that has 8 drops and you have only one, that was such an uphill battle. So we still wanted to keep that element that you're slow but has a lot of coffee. So, but we made it a bit more balanced. Same thing with the handling of the cups. We made it more extreme. So the coffee pot handles much slower. It has that huge spin that you can spin around, kind of like a flail. It's really heavy. So yeah, so that's really to give it really a specific feeling. That's something we're iterating on, and yeah, we're getting plenty of feedback also. People tell us about performance with different PCs. That's not something we can test. We're only 3, so we can't know if it's gonna work on every single configuration. So it's really helpful to have people come and tell us that there's this or that problem on their configuration. Then we can try and figure out and tweak it on our side.
I need to give it a try. I'm pretty new to Steam, so I've been messing around. I've been messing around with a lot of other games as of late. Like I mainly play like Tekken like all the time, but
sure,
I'm actually like I'm in the mood to mess around with a couple of other things. So I'll definitely give it a shot.
That would be great. And if you get to try it, sure, we want all the feedback. So if you have something that you think, you have a move that you don't like, or a couple that's maybe overpowered something, that's really things we want to hear. And what you like also, so we can build up on it. But like I said, we're in a pretty big streak to tweak the gameplay. So we reworked the melee attack recently, just before Evo. That there's still a bunch of things that we are working on right now. So yeah, it should evolve pretty quickly in the coming weeks. I mean, the basics are pretty much there, so it's going fast to iterate on it right now.
Are you also looking at releasing it on PS4 and Xbox One simultaneously?
Absolutely. So we have been approved I think a month back for consoles, so that's something we're looking at. So yeah, we're very happy about it. We're aiming for a release at the end of fall, so we're looking maybe at the end of October, maybe November.
Okay.
In that ballpark, we don't have an exact set date right now. It is going to depend on how well things are going. But yeah, that's pretty much our estimation right now for final release.
Are you gonna throw in like a pumpkin spice latte like DLC pack or something like that?
That'd be amazing.
Some Ugg boots DLC.
Sure,
the venti sized cup.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we talked about making the coffee itself something that you can customize. So yeah. I think an iced coffee could have different effects from having a pumpkin spice latte. That's definitely something we want to do. We're gonna see because we're going to focus on the cups and those kind of things. We have a bunch of things we still want to add. Definitely, if we have a solid response, we want to continue supporting the game, probably with free DLC, free updates. So releasing some coffee types that you can change in your cups, that's definitely something we'd like to do. But we'll see. I mean, it really depends. Otherwise, we're going to finish the game as best we can. And afterwards, we definitely love to continue with a bunch of ideas that we want to add to the game also. That'd be great.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm probably going to pick it up on Steam to keep playing with it now. I was pretty trash at it at Evo, so
I had no idea what I was doing, so. But I'm a pretty quick learner, so I'll get in, learn it.
Yeah,
sure.
Dominate.
Ahead of the curve now.
Yeah, you gotta start now. I mean, we have some. You can place with some bots right now. They go to skill 1 to skill 10, but we're still gonna tweak them. I mean, skill 10 is not as hard as we want it to be, and skill 1 is probably not as easy as we want it to be. So yeah, we're still balancing things out. But yeah, definitely it's better enjoyed with people. So if you can play some cool 4-way matches in 4 players or duel and brush up your skills, definitely that's the best way to play Coffense right now.
Last question for me. I find that games are always better when there's like a competitive or ranked mode. Are you gonna have that, or is it gonna be more just arcade style, like free play?
That's definitely something we want to add. We're looking at the online possibilities right now, so I can say we have one programmer, so he's looking at it. We're actually working with Amazon Lumberyard, which is pretty well integrated for the online part, and we have some pretty good contacts with the Lumberyard team. So yeah, all the online evaluation of what we need to do and what we are going to do is still ongoing. So maybe not at launch, but definitely that's something we'd like to do. I mean, the community for it, that's definitely the kind of thing that the fighting game community wants. So yeah, and I think something we discovered at Evo is that we are a better fit for fighting game players than we thought. I mean, when we all started this, it was really for a casual kind of laid-back thing, but it became pretty competitive when we look at it now. So I think that's definitely something that we want to add to the game. Yes.
Yeah. That sounds really awesome.
That sounds awesome. NFFB is definitely going to be supporting it. Me
Sure.
personally, I'm going to be supporting
Oh,
it.
heck yeah.
Great.
I'll support it.
All right, you got Willie
Thank you, guys.
Fresco on board.
Well, yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Best of luck to you guys.
Definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you
And
very much. Yeah.
if you're watching this video, definitely go and check it out. Coffense, definitely a good time. Good, fun game to play with your friends. And hopefully we'll see you online at some point if the community is there.
Sure.
All right,
Thanks. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any feedback or things like that, you can mail us or write to us on Steam. We're just we're just 3 guys, so one of us is gonna answer you for sure. So yeah, we're always at it. We're always at
Fair enough. I like them small.
it. Great.
Pause. All right.
Good. Well, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
Have a
that's
good one.
All right.
Newfound
Take it
fan
easy.
base delivering
That was pretty
information,
good.
anime and
Thank you.
gaming entertainment.